I'm currently employed at an ad agency as a senior copywriter, getting a salary as well as having a copywriting business on the side. But I want to talk to you about my journey, about how I became a copywriter who gets paid a salary. As a kid, I always had a leaning towards storytelling. I remember my mom would get me and my best friend these blank white books where we would make up stories about the WWF wrestlers of the day. Now, I wasn't good at telling stories verbally, but I was always good at writing stories. Always a little bit above average at writing stories. When I went to college, I started to want to be a filmmaker or a movie director, and I had read in magazines at the time that many movie directors had studied English, had an English major. So I became an English major with a concentration on short story writing. All of my professors then were published authors, writers, short story writers, poets, and that was very cool because I think every writer needs to get out all that bad garbage writing early on in their career. A lot of the writing that I had to submit in college was pretty bad, getting out pretty bad themes, but I'm glad I got that all out of my system by the time I graduated college. After college, I became a PA on movie sets. I worked on The Sopranos. I worked on some Will Smith movies, I Am Legend. But then I got an opportunity to work in sales and make some better money. Did sales for 8, 9, almost a decade. Pretty miserable doing sales, but I went to a SVA, School of Visual Arts night course. Started to put together an advertising portfolio. I guess that's when I started to have thoughts about getting into advertising, although I wasn't fully aware of what the job was. But I was working a job where I was doing outside sales during the day, selling alarm systems to businesses, but at night I was going to School of Visual Arts in New York City, putting together the beginnings of an advertising portfolio, which is spec work, which means fake work for brands. And every week we were given these challenging briefs or assignments. In sales, my favorite part of the sales job was always writing the sales scripts or the one-sheeter leave-behinds or the marketing collateral. And I should have realized that I always liked selling through writing instead of selling with my voice, which selling through writing is basically marketing or advertising. Took a sales job, very interesting situation at a web agency where the owner let me do 3 days a week being the sales guy, 2 days a week being the in-house copywriter. This is my first time being paid to be a copywriter. That job didn't last too long, but he told me about Miami Ad School, a more robust portfolio school. You know, I did a free day there, and I felt like I finally had found the others, like other people like me, other misfits who were making creative work. So I went there. It was a 2-year commitment. I had to stop taking full-time jobs and get a job at Trader Joe's for those 2 years. So that was 2 years. It was $18,000. Took out a loan for that. I say if you have the time and can take out the loan, I recommend it. Although Miami Ad School was recently sold, so I'm not sure what it's like now. There are quicker processes and cheaper processes to make a portfolio, like Book 180. It's just 180 days to make a portfolio that could get you a job as a working salary copywriter. Miami Ad School, New York is where I went. It was creatively fulfilling years of my life. Made some great friends. It felt like going back to college for 2 years, so that was fun. They set me up. I got into a hard internship there at an agency called RGA in New York City. Only like 8 of us got in. I was one of them because my portfolio was okay. After doing that for 3 months, getting paid in bagels and stale cookies, I worked really hard there. They offered me a paid internship, and later that turned into an offer to be a paid junior copywriter in their San Francisco office, an RGA San Francisco, working on tech clients, including Google. I always loved California, so I took that job, moved to California, not knowing anyone in that state. Had a really great time personally and professionally in San Francisco for a couple of years, and then moved back to New York and started once I had that on my resume, I was able to get jobs as a mid-level copywriter at mid-tier agencies, ad agencies back in New York. A junior copywriter gets paid around 70 to 75K per year. You could always negotiate a little bit more than that, take your chances of negotiating, but potentially not getting the offer if you ask for too much. And that was my journey about how I am a salaried working full-time copywriter in an ad agency, as well as having a copywriting side business that makes me additional revenue.